In this video, we're going to be talking about safe operating procedures for the Cub Cadet Snowblower. Also, I want you guys to note that the term snowblower and snow thrower might be used interchangeably throughout the video. Another thing to note is that the Columbia snowblower is the same as the Cub Cadet snowblower in terms of engine controls and also operational controls such as the chute, auger, and drive. Finally, I also recommend that you guys watch the pre-use inspection video, which is up here on your screen, or you can check the link in the description box before we get started. In the pre-use inspection video, we talked about how to properly check your oil and do a full inspection using a checklist on your Cub Cadet snowblower. Because we did that, we're not going to go ahead and do the whole thing, but there's a couple of key features that I want you guys to really remember. One of the important things I really want you guys to note is anytime you do an inspection on your snowblower is to remove the key and stash it properly so that you have no unintentional starts and you're good to go. Now let's talk about the starting procedure, because that's kind of important since you can't operate the snowblower if you don't know how to start it. So on the Cub Cadet with a cold engine, I want you to move the throttle position lever from stop to fast. Then you're going to turn the choke from off all the way down to on. Prime 3 times if it's cold. If the engine is warm, only prime once. Then you would firmly grasp the pull handle, give it a brisk pull until the engine starts. Or you could use the electric starter if equipped, using a 3-pronged extension cord, no cuts, no frays, no visible damage on it, and keep it under 15 feet. Then you would press the start button for about 5 seconds, release it until the engine starts. After the engine has been started, don't forget to remove the extension cord from the electric starter, coil it up, stow it away so you don't trip on it, and then you're ready to go. After the engine is started, slowly remove the choke to the full off position, and at that point, you're ready to go operate your Cub Cadet snowblower, right? Well, not so fast, because we haven't talked about a very important thing when it comes to operating your Cub Cadet snowblower, and that is the safety equipment required. So what's some of the safety gear you need to wear when you're operating your snowblower? Well, I'm happy you asked, because it's actually more extensive than you think. First of all, it's cold outside, which is why we have snow. So I highly recommend that you dress in layers, including your hat, some winter mittens, safety goggles, as well as some hearing protection, because these engines can become very noisy and you don't want to have any noise-induced hearing loss. Something else to consider is steel-toed safety boots with cleats if you're working on slippery ice surfaces such as ice rinks, as well as a helmet if you're working on an ice rink. And at this point, I also need to mention that you need to be concerned about stuff being entangled in levers and augers and stuff like that. So making sure you tie back your hair, tuck it in, making sure you have all your lanyards tucked in, as well as your scarf, regardless if it's your youngest daughter that crocheted it herself. It needs to be tucked in away from any moving components, because again, they can be a very big hazard. Next would be some of the entanglements that can happen from such as a scarf that we talked about earlier, or your clothing. Make sure that they stay away from any moving part, and for that matter, you should never leave the operator's position anyways unless the engine is fully off and the key is removed. Another thing to note is the engine, after it's operated, becomes very hot, so severe burns can occur. So again, make sure that the engine's turned off and allowed to cool before you do anything such as fueling or touching the components around the engine. Alright guys, so we're outside. Let's talk about controls before we get the engine started. So when you're positioned behind the machine in the operator's position, the left control on the Cub Cadet is your auger control. The right control is your drive control. You got two triggers underneath, and that's for your steering, your power steering. So in order to turn right, you would squeeze the right trigger. Turn left, squeeze the left trigger. Keeping in note and in mind that these only work in conjunction with the traction control lever being down. You also have other controls such as your gear selector, forward, reversed. You also have your pitch control lever right up here, as well as your directional control for your chute. Another note I should mention before we start it up as well, and this is going to pertain to after you're done. When you're done and you're ready to put your unit away, it's highly suggested that you run your auger for a few seconds to clear the chute and prevent any ice buildup for the next start. Alright, so I'm wearing all my PPE, got my glasses, got my hearing protection, gloves, all that good stuff. We're going to use the electric starter today, so we're going to plug it in over here. Set the engine controls where they need to be. So as a reminder, full choke, full throttle, and some primer. And we're going to select the button over here until it starts. While operating the snowblower, always stay in the operator's position while the engine is running and ensure proper footing while you're moving forward. Avoid backing up if it's not necessary. Spatial awareness is also important. Ensure bystanders and pedestrians remain at least 75 feet from where you're operating the machine. Ensure good visibility and always keep an eye on the snow discharge direction. If the chute becomes clogged, slowly turn the throttle position from fast to stop. Remove the key. Wait for all moving parts to stop. And use the clean out tool to remove all jammed snow or ice that's built up in the chute as well as in between the impeller blades. Once you're done unclogging the chute, stow the tool, reinsert the key, put the throttle at fast, give it one shot of primer, start the engine, and engage the auger control to ensure that the clog is freed up. If it's not, repeat those steps. To avoid clogging, run your snowblower engine on fast and slower ground speed. Now that we're done operating the snowblower, we brought it back inside. There's one more thing that we need to do, and that is to ensure that the engine throttle is at the off position. Remove the key, and then one more time, we're going to take the clean out tool, and we're going to ensure that the auger as well as the impeller are free from any snow or debris. And that way there nothing will freeze up, making your operation the next time that much easier. That concludes the safe operation of your Cub Cadet snowblower. I hope you guys are able to follow these instructions easily, and don't forget that even though it's cold outside, you still need to take frequent breaks and drink plenty of water to make sure that you don't dehydrate in the cold. Until next time, make sure you guys have a lot of fun in the snow and enjoy yourself safely.